Hi guys, so I did my in-service project at No Stone Unturned over timing and movement and really engaging our thinking brain. So the population of kiddos they usually see are on the spectrum or just have anxiety and PTSD and have a lot of behavior problems. They also have a few neuro kids here and there. So those are really some important things, movement and timing and engaging our thinking brain. Is really important for those kiddos and just anybody in general. So I really wanted to see what else I could do for them with kids that are behavioral, because we really work on our emotions there and work on our zones of regulation, and then also the alert program. So how our engine runs is another big thing we like to use. And so I really focused on the timing of the brain and how that our body is connected through timing, and how the synchronization of timing of messages that we receive from the outside world are really important. And when they're disrupted, that's when we get our disorders or delays and dysfunctions. So when these are mixed up and disrupted, you aren't allowed to have complex behaviors or actions that are appropriate for daily life. That's when you get the negative or wrong behaviors. So that is one thing I touched on. Another thing is that our timing or our internal clock is like really what regulates our movement. And so any type of movement, from talking to walking to skipping to jumping, all those complex things that you do when you progress in age and develop. So neurotiming is very critical for human performance, every performance we do for any child or population. So really working on those, and those also entangle our cognitive and motor behaviors, not just being able to walk and talk, how we think. So like our timing is responsible for synchronization of communication that our brain systems and networks are being connected by. So how can we walk and talk at the same time? Those things are more complex actions. And really wanting to impress on the importance of nourishing the brain, and that how movement nourishes the brain. So a quote I found from Donald Hebe is that neurons that fire together wire together. So really thinking that if our connection isn't there and we don't really practice it, or we're not doing it together and firing at the same speed, you don't get as complex or greatest reactions or timing. So movement also is important for behaviors, because it also improves things like it calms the mind and body, it improves memory, and improves behaviors, it increases academic performance, and it increases social skills. So when you have all those, kids are able to progress and create a better daily performance and habits. So a big thing is with the kiddos we see at No Stone is behaviors, as I said earlier. And so those kind of come into from our emotional brain or our reactive brain. So the fight or flight response. So a lot of those, when they don't like something, they go straight to that emotional and just react. And those are behaviors that we are working to help lessen. And so we're working to not go to that emotional side, because when we hit that emotional side, our behaviors increase, and then there's negative emotions, and then our thinking brain, to be able to produce all of our complex behaviors, is shut down. So when moving with all the other things that we want to incorporate, fine motor, the zones of regulation, gross motor with the movement, and then our cognitive piece, because we're wanting to use all the cognitive piece with, everything else, using that holistic approach will help fire more of your thinking side of your brain. So a good quote I found that I really impressed upon them, that I really liked and made me think a little bit differently, was our bodies change our minds, and our minds change our behaviors, and then our behaviors change our outcomes. So if our bodies are feeling really fast and mad, then our mind is there and we're mad. And so then we act out and we're mad, and then we might punch someone. So making sure that we know what our body is feeling, and if we can move our body so that we don't have time to think and keep escalating our madness, and we move our body and are able to relax and become more in the green zone, as we would say, that can help. So then I just came up with some activities, because they already do a lot of alophysics. They have an I am there. They don't use it that much, but they do have things that help engage those two. So I just gave them activities that don't have extensive programs or things you have to go to get training on or learn more about. Simple things you can do at home. So I left a lot of that stuff there with them. I used a tennis ball. You can use a basketball. It was an example I gave them. A basketball and a tennis ball activity, so those, or even like a volleyball, soccer ball, anything like that. You can do it with one, you can do it with two, you can do different bouncing patterns. So I did one with one. Started with your right hand, and you had to drop it and catch it with your left. And then you had to do that a few times. And then you switched over to your non-dominant side and dropped it with your left and caught it with your right. And then you can change that to drop with right one time, then left, and switch that. So you're having to think and engage both sides of your brain. And then you can also add the piece of adding a metronome to it. You can see how fast they drop and how that takes, and make sure their drop is on the beat every time. So you don't have to use a complex program. You can use your phone. You can also add when they drop the ball, they say their ABCs. Then you can add it to make it harder for the ones that are really getting it, and use 2 balls. This also works because there are multiple of the assessments they use and goals they have that involve, bilateral coordination, just throwing and catching a ball for skill improvement. So that's a big thing that they can do. So like with 2 balls, you can drop, pass, and then catch the other ball as it comes back up. And they can do that to a metronome too. It's really actually quite fun. I have done a few of those activities throughout the week, and they have gone over really well, and it has been quite fun to see the kids improve and struggle but keep wanting to. They can understand, like, when they're frustrated, they're really thinking about it. They're like, I know what I'm doing, but it's hard. So it's really fun to see that they're succeeding even though they are really working hard. Another one is a pool noodle. Doing a figure 8, picking up your knees, putting it under on the outside or putting it under on the inside and doing a figure 8. I'm doing that with a metronome too, just making sure you pick up and go under at the beat and then put your foot down at the beat. So that involves bilateral coordination of your upper extremities and your lower extremities and balance. And then also the cognitive and processing. So you're getting so many goals that might be written in there. And then you can add also a cognitive piece, like when you put it under your right leg, say an animal. Put it on your left leg, you say a fruit. Something like that. You just engage them to think on more than one thing, so they're not just stopping and saying, oh, this is hard, I don't want to do this. So they have some shutdown behaviors. They're having to constantly change weight, transfer their weight, thinking about picking up their leg, and also thinking about what they're going to say next, and also moving their arms. So there's so many things they're having to think about that they're really having to involve all parts and all systems of the brain and a lot of things, their core and all that. I also did a lot of cross-tapping activities. You're already getting crossing midline and stuff like that and using both sides with your figure 8. But just like cross-tapping, hitting your left hand with your right knee, or your right hand with your left knee, or your elbow, or just straightening your arms and crossing, and doing that to a rhythm, turning on your metronome on your phone. That's also something you can do. And every time you can have I gave them some cute stickers and some dots to go on the floor that would match and say, right hand is blue and left foot is blue, and then the opposite. And every time you touch blue, you say an animal and nothing on that other color. So stuff like that. And you can increase it, that you do say more things. You speed up your time. You can change to 2 cross and then 2 knee. Anything. and even certain stepping stone ideas or just walking patterns. So that engages following directions. So when you have a lot of behavior problem, following directions more than 3 steps, more than even just one, is very difficult. And that also is a problem with processing, speed, auditory, and just in general. So giving them a beat to step forward, and you step right, left, right, and then you walk back, left, right, left. Giving them patterns, making them stay when you step on your right foot, you say a friend's name. You have to walk 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, and 3 steps sideways. Just thinking simple things that are not expensive, not really time consuming, and really not that hard to grade up or grade down, depending on your kiddo. And then also things you can find everywhere. And these are also tools that you can send home with parents. If you really have a great set of parents who really want to engage and help their kiddos and really take on what we educate them on after the treatment session, these are some good things to do. So that's just what I did. I really enjoyed my time at No Stone, and I really enjoyed what I was able to do actually with my in-service project with a few of my kiddos. And it's going so far so good. Thanks.